Hey everybody, Stereo Azimuth here, and I've got an amplifier. I got Lear, it's upside down, Lear Plus of the Lears. It would technically be like Lear 4, but I think Jason has this like weird thing with the number 4, because there's no 4 products. I don't know. Ask him about it. So it's Lear Plus. So it's more based upon like the Lear 3, which is a hybrid amp. The biggest change between this is the continuity circuit, which is they added for like the tube, and then also like this, it's basically the same sort of change that they put into the when they made the Valley 2 Plus. Same sort of circuit here in this version, but this amp is a little bit different. The other thing besides Lear 3 is this will work in solid state or tube. It is a hybrid amp, meaning that you have, tube front end, and then like the amplifier stage is actually solid state, but you have a tube like kind of preamp stage, and the tube preamp stage could be a solid state stage, or it could be a tube stage with a 6SN7. So unlike Lear 3, yes, you can run either or. You can just run it solid state, never use a tube, or you can put a tube in the front end and you can switch back and forth anytime you want. So we'll go through that. When I was testing this amp, I had to have the manual open because I was like, what do these lights do? Which mode am I in? Which gain am I in? What's going on with the amp? And so I'm going to go through that a little bit now, so maybe you'll understand if you get this amp, or maybe you just want to know a little bit more about it. So let's just go through it right quick. This right here is just a like the IR receiver for the remote. So yes, it is remote controlled. Yes, you do get a remote. We'll go through that in a little bit. And all the functions on the front you can use with this, yes, including volume. It does have a volume up and down and a mute. It has 2 inputs, 2 unbalanced inputs. So you're on input 1, input 2. So that's a nice, lovely indicator to tell you what input that you're on. I love that feature. Another great feature that I like is this is a line output on or off switch. So normal, a lot of Schiit amps, when you take headphone jack, like right now, like if this was a Lear 3, for example, the line outputs on the back, the preamp outputs, would be active. And then if I plugged a headphone jack in, they would turn off those outputs. So a lot of people, there was a lot of push for, can you put it on a switch of some kind? Okay, you can get it on a switch, but yes, you are going to have to, go up in an amplifier to get, more features, which I kind of like. So now, even if you have this on, you can plug this and it will turn off the headphone out and then turn on your line out, so you can use your powered speakers and not use your headphones. So yes, it is a great little feature, and an indicator to tell you, where you are. So if you plug in your headphones and you don't hear any volume, then you kind of know what's going on, which is actually what happened to me when I first got it. Somehow this got turned on and I was like, why can't I hear anything? The other thing is these buttons here. So there's 2 lights and there's 1 button. And we'll go through this one first, actually. This is a gain mode. So when the light is on, you're in high gain. When the light is off, you're in low gain. Okay? So the other one is, and it takes a second for it to go into the gain. There, I heard a relay switch, so now I'm going to hit it again, so now I can go back into high gain. The other switch is this light here. When this light is on, you are basically in solid state mode. Okay? To go into tube mode, which right now, like the tube, it's warm, it's on, it's active, it's always on. So if you have a tube plugged in, so to use the mode, then you would use, then basically, hold on a second. Solid state gain stage. If you hold it down for 4 seconds, then let off, Then when it is off, you are in tube mode. Now, if I had headphones plugged in, you wouldn't hear any music. It actually mutes the output for a few seconds to let the tube kind of, catch up to things. And then you would hear, music. I just heard a relay switch. So now the music would be playing. So with the remote, you get all of that. Volume up and down. So it is you do hear a slight clickety clack with it, but not too much. There are some relay switches, but it's not. It's a lot smoother, a little bit smoother than the Lear and the other like Ragnarok and stuff like that. You do hear some relay switching, but it's a lot softer and a lot quieter. You do get the line output. That's the input switching 1 and 2. The line output on and off is this button. So the first button is input, second button is the output. This little button here is the tube mode or solid state mode. So I don't have to hold it down for 4 seconds. All I have to do is click it once and it clicks over into the solid state mode. Now, once again, now that I've switched it back, if I had headphones in, it would be muted and I have to wait for the solid state circuit to kind of do whatever it does to settle down, and then it turns it on with the relay. The little bars here, there's the relay switch. There's a bars here. This is the gain stage. So there's, gain. And then right now I'm hitting the button again. It won't change because I just heard the relay switch. So now I can change it back into high gain. And then this right here, which function that you don't get is a mute switch. So you can hit mute. All I did was I heard a relay switch inside, and I can unmute. I heard it again. So there's no indicator to tell you that you are on mute. So back, power switch, just like all Schiit devices, just a, bat switch on the back, on and off. Of course, your IC cable here. Here's your input 1, input 2, clearly labeled, and then your pre-out here, clearly labeled. That's it. That's all you get with this. Of course, price $599 for the black, $629 for the silver. So now let's talk about actual usage, actual real world uses, actual sound, actual review. So also one last thing I want to mention. If you don't want to use a tube, they supply this little dome here. And sorry to tease you with the review. I have to turn it off to put it on because I want to take the tube out. So I'm just going to take the tube out. You put this on, and that's just kind of how it looks. Actually, it's not centered. So there you go. And it kind of just friction holds in. So therefore, if we don't want to run your tube, and then even if I wanted to turn it on right now, which I've got to get the tube out of the way, I'm going to turn it on, and it will sense that there is no tube in there, and then I won't be able to switch to the tube mode because it knows, hey, there's no tube in here. There's nothing for me to switch. So as far as sound quality, I think that it's worthy of its price. It is just like Lear 3, it's very refined. It's very detailed. I actually like the solid state version versus the tube version. We'll go through the kind of the differences, but either which mode, it's kind of it's more and more of a creamy amp. It's not very slammy. It's more open and laid back and just kind of presents this nice soundstage. It's very non fatiguing in that way. And it still gives you a lot of decent details. It's not very good at sort of layering, where I feel like every little thing has its place. Everything is just kind of presented in this one spatial thing, and it is a step up from like a Asgard amp or like a Magni amp, for example, it does sound more smoother, more refined. I can feel like I can hear deeper into the music for sure. And it gives me a more open, more pleasant sound. And that goes with, my LCD 2s or my Sennheiser HD 650s. I thought it was really kind of a warmer amp. The highs were very sort of sweet, like even in solid state mode, and gave me nice, like clean details out of it. And as far as like the the difference between like the tube mode and the solid state mode, I actually prefer, like I said, I prefer the solid state mode more because I found the solid state mode had a little bit more details. Like I could hear a little bit more transients, a little more deeper into the music. The tubes sounded a little more mushy, sounded a little more veiled. They did sound a little bit warmer and gave me a little bit of a more of a punch to it. But I just didn't really feel like the tube, I felt like it more took away rather than like added something like really great. Now, I only tried a couple of tubes, the Tungsol tube that it came with, the new production Tungsol tube, and then also this other tube, this Rogers tube. There wasn't a whole lot of difference between the two tubes, actually. But I mean, you can try different tubes, you can roll different tubes and see. But like what I found, even with the Valley 2 Plus circuit, with the continuity circuit, like the tube rolling plays less of a, like for whatever reason, it changes the sound less. So between like say a Valley 2 and a Valley 2 Plus, right? Or right now is the Valley Plus whatever. Those amps, like between the original Valley 2 and the 2 Plus, is that I can use the same tubes, and there's a greater difference in the tubes that I can hear when I use when I roll tubes in that Valley 2 than I can with the Valley 2 Plus. Like the differences between the tubes are not quite as big of a difference between the tubes, which is normally like a good thing because that means you don't have to like go searching and spend like more money than the amp is worth to like find a good amp. Now this amp is more expensive. It's like I said, base price is $599. But you can still find good 6SN7s for like way less, but I don't feel like you need to spend $150 or $200 to find a NOS 6SN7 to fit it. I mean, the newer production tubes or some of the older ones might change the nuance like a little bit, but it's not going to be a huge, I think, factor. But to each his own. The way that I always look at tube rolling is that, roll the tubes until you find something that really you like that speaks to you, and just go with that. I've never been a person to just like roll tubes unless you just want to listen to tubes. I don't do that. I more want to, sort of match everything up and get everything together. But the other one thing I wanted to talk about was I have a liquid platinum. I have a monoprice liquid platinum, and I did compare the two amps. So they're both hybrid amps. They're both, the liquid platinum has been on sale recently, but normally they would probably be around the same price. And just to compare the two, the liquid platinum seemed to be like warmer. It had a little bit more like kind of like low end, not quite as like transient highs, I guess you would say. It sounded more organic. And when I go back to the Lear from listening to that amp, it sounds a little more narrow and it sounds slightly harsh. And I feel like the image is very sort of tall, but when I go to the liquid platinum, I feel like it's very like sort of wide and spacious. So don't get me wrong, the Lear Plus is very sort of like, the first thing that I thought about was like, it's very sort of transparent, and a lot of people use transparent to think it has like not a lot of bass, it's just like, top end. But I felt like I said, I want to use the term open, and to feel like, it sounded much, the sound was rather bigger. But with the liquid platinum, the sound was even larger, even though that the sound was like more like warmer. If that makes any sense. The other thing that I want to say is that the Lear, like as far as like the output, I know the output is very high, and you can look on their specs, and the Lear 3 and the Lear, this one, the Lear Plus, is the same output, the same exact output. But I felt like even when I use a preamp, I use a Freya in preamp, I could have the volume on this turned all the way up, and I could have my liquid platinum all the way up, and the liquid platinum was louder. And then I tried to use another amp. I tried to use 2 other amps, and it was the same sort of thing. So it means to tell me that the gain that is in this is a little bit lower than a couple of those other amps that I have, like the Black Widow, Eddy Current Black Widow, and also the Dynalo that I have. I have a homemade Dynalo amp, which is like a Gilmore Light, basically. And those have more gain than even the gain on the Lear in high gain. So it still had plenty of output. You just may find that, like, if you got this amp from another amp, if you didn't have like another shit, you may find your volume knob turned up a little bit more. Instead of like at 9 o'clock, you may find it at 10 or 11 to get up to the same volume. So I just wanted to make note of that. And then also you're dealing with the linear like volume knob and not like a logarithmic. So therefore that's also going to play into how much you're turning up the volume, because it's like they're linear steps as opposed to a logarithmic. So you also may find yourself turning up the volume up a little bit more. So don't feel bad if you are like used to an amp where you're turning it up to, say 9 o'clock and it's a good volume. And then another amp like this one, you have to turn it up to 12 o'clock. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's any worse. It just means that, the gain structure is set to where the amplifier is down, doing more of the work instead of the gain stage. And also the volume control is more linear, so you're going to have a higher sweep. So, and so that's about does it for this review. If you have any questions about it, or anybody that has this amp, please feel free to comment and let me know. And if there's another product that you would like me to review or something like that or talk about, please hit me up. But otherwise, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.